my god. You're so awesome, Lawrence Lim.
It's Lawrence Lim, we did the W.
A man is in his final moments of life and asks his wife of 50 years, Martha, soon I'll be gone and there's something I have to know. In all of these 50 years of marriage, have you ever been unfaithful to me? Martha replied, well, Henry, I have to be honest with you. Yes, I've been unfaithful 3 times during these 50 years, but it's always been for a good reason. Henry was obviously hurt by his wife's confession, but he said, you know what? I never suspected, but can you do me a good and tell me what you mean by good reasons? Martha says, well, the first time was shortly after we were married and we were about to lose our house because we couldn't pay the mortgage. Do you remember that one evening we went to see the banker and the next day he notified you that your loan would be extended? Henry recalled the visit to the banker and said, I can forgive you for that. You saved our home. But what about the second time? Martha said, and do you remember when you were sick but we didn't have the money to pay for your heart surgery that you needed? Well, I went to see your doctor one night and if you recall, he did that surgery at no charge. I recall that, said Henry. And you did it to save my life. So of course, I can forgive you for that. How about the third time? Martha said, do you remember when you ran for president of your golf club and you needed 17 more votes? 3 brothers, aged 92, 94 and 96 lived in the same house together. One night, the 96-year-old fills up the bath, puts his foot in and pauses. Then he yells down the stairs, was I getting in or out of the bath? The 94-year-old yells back, I don't know, I'll come up and see. So he starts up the stairs. Then halfway up, he pauses and then yells, was I coming up the stairs or was I coming down? The 92-year-old is sitting at the kitchen table having a coffee listening to his brothers. He shakes his head and says, I sure hope I never get that forgetful. He knocks on the wood for good luck. Then he yells, I'll come up and help both of you as soon as I see who's at the door. Sorry.
After a Christmas Day argument with her husband, a woman went outside for a walk to calm down and came across an old lamp. She rubbed the lamp and behold, a genie came out. The genie said, I am a Christmas genie. The wife replied, what's that? Genie replied, I will grant you 3 wishes, but there's a catch. Your husband will get each wish of yours by 10 times more. So the wife said, okay, he's my husband anyway. The genie said, well then, what's your first wish? The wife said, make me the most beautiful person in the world. The genie said, are you sure? Your husband will be 10 times more beautiful than you. The wife replied, no, it's okay. He's my husband anyway. Pfft. Wish granted. What's your second wish? Make me super rich. Sure, but your husband will get 10 times more than you. No, that's fine. He's my husband anyway. Pfft. Wish granted. The genie said, so what's your third wish? The wife was thinking very hard on what her third wish would be. The genie said, so? The wife replied, okay, just give me a slight heart attack. Savage. A teacher looks at her class and says, listen, I want you all to study hard this weekend to be well prepared for your test next Monday. One of the young kids, called Little Johnny, raises his hand and asks, Miss, what if, come Monday, I am totally exhausted from having lots of wonderful sex? Oh, the teacher replies calmly, then I guess you will just have to write with your other hand. Oh, Little Johnny got banned! A father brought his little girl to bring your child to work day. They were talking with other parents and having a great time. His daughter burst out crying and her dad asked what was wrong. She said, where are all those clowns you said you worked with?
A drunk man comes home at 3 a.m. and is greeted by his angry wife. Where have you been? She demanded. You've been gone for hours. The man let out a hiccup and responded in a wonderstruck way. I was at this incredible bar called the Golden Saloon. It had golden doors, golden floors, and even golden toilets. The wife was suspicious, but believed her husband for a moment anyway. The next morning, his wife, still skeptical about her husband's story, called the bar's number. Hello? Is this the Golden Salon? She said. Why, yes it is, said the man on the other end of the line. Tell me, is it true that you have golden doors? The man on the phone walked towards the front bar of the place and looked at the glimmering doors before him and said, yes, we do. Is it true that you have golden floors? The man looked at his reflection in the shimmering floors below and said, yes, that too. And tell me, said the wife, is it really true that you have golden toilets? There was a long pause at the other end of the phone and eventually the man turned to his friend and says, I think you found the guy who whizzed in your saxophone last night. One day, a billionaire is driving down the road in his limousine and he looks out of his window and sees a family of 3 wearing nothing but rags and they're eating grass from the side of the road. Feeling overcome with emotion watching this, he orders his driver to pull up alongside the people at the side of the road. He asks the man who appears to be the father, why is he eating grass? Which the man replies, well, I have no money. and we have nothing to eat, so we eat grass as it's the only way to stay alive. Feeling a sense of responsibility towards the family, he tells them to jump in his limo and come back to his mansion where he will look after them. As they drive back to the billionaire's place, he offers them some bottled water and begins conversation with them. He tells them about his life and his personal struggles and his rise to the top to be a billionaire and how he remembered what it was like to not have much. The family are grateful for the billionaire, but curiosity gets the better of the father, so he asks the billionaire, "Why did you stop and take us back with you?" To which the billionaire responds, "Oh, trust me, you're going to love it at my mansion. The grass comes up to here."
A guy goes to the supermarket one day. He's doing his shopping when he notices an attractive young woman waving at him. She comes over and says hi to him. He's taken aback because he can't think where he knows her from. So he asks her, "Do you know me?" She replies, "Yes, I think you're the father of one of my kids." The guy's mind is whirring now and it travels back to the only time he's been unfaithful to his wife. He asks the woman, "Are you the stripper from the bachelor party that I made love to on the pool table with all my buddies watching while your partner whipped my butt with wet celery?" She looked into his eyes and calmly replies, "No, I'm your son's teacher."
A guy walks into a bar with a sad look on his face. As he walks up to the bar, the bartender says, "What's the matter?" The guy replies, "Well, I got these two horses, and you see, I can't really tell them apart. I don't know if I'm mixing up the riding times or even feeding them the right food." The bartender feels sorry for the guy and tries to think of something that he can do. "Why don't you try shaving the tail on one of the horses?" The man stops crying and says, "That sounds like a good idea. I'm going to try that." A few months later, the same man comes into the same bar, much worse condition this time though. "What's the matter now?" says the bartender. The guy sobbing answers, "I shaved the tail of one of the horses, but it grew back, and now I can't tell them apart again." The bartender, now just wanting him to shut up and leave, says, "Well, why don't you try shaving the mane? Maybe that won't grow back as quickly." The guy stops crying and after a few drinks leaves. Again, a few months later, the same man is back at the bar. The bartender has never seen anybody in this Surrey's estate. Without the bartender even asking, the fellow breaks into his problems. I shaved the mane of one and it grew back again." The bartender, now furious at the guy and his general stupidity, yells, "For crying out loud, just measure the stupid horses. Perhaps one is slightly taller than the other one." The man stops crying and can't believe what the bartender says and storms out of the bar. The next day, the same guy comes running into the bar as if he's just won the lottery. "It worked! It worked!" he exclaims. "I measured the horses and the black one's definitely 2 inches taller than the white one."
A little boy goes to see his priest. "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. I have been with a loose girl." The priest asks, "Is that you, little Joey Pagano?" "Yes, Father, it is." "And who was this girl that you were with?" "I can't tell you, Father. I don't want to ruin her reputation." "Well, Joey, I'm sure to find out her name sooner or later, so you may as well tell me now." "Was it Tina Manetti?" "I cannot say." "Was it Teresa Mazzarelli?" "I'll never tell." "Was it Nina Capelli?" "I'm sorry, Father, but I cannot name her." "Was it Kathy Pirano?" "My lips are sealed, Father." "Was it Rosa D'Angelo then?" "Please, Father, I cannot tell you." The priest sighs in frustration. "You're very tight-lipped, Johnny, and I admire that. But you've sinned and you have to atone. You cannot be an altar boy now for 4 months. Now you go and behave yourself." Joey walks back to his pew and his friend Franco slides over and whispers, "What'd you get? 4 months vacation and 5 good leads." The teacher asks her class, as they're getting a little older and more mature, to use the word urinate in a sentence. Little Susie puts her hands up. "Yes, Susie, my dog's called Fluffy, and when she needs to urinate, my dad lets her out into the garden." "Ah, well done, Susie." "Anyone else?" Little Johnny's hand bolts up. Oh, me. "Yes, Johnny, go on." Little Johnny says, "Urinate? But if you had bigger tits, you'd be a 10. Annoyed at his immaturity, she chooses another word for the class to use. "Okay, class, I want you to use the word fascinate." Only little Johnny's hand shoots up again. "Anyone else?" No hands. She thinks, there's no way you can make this one dirty. "Oh, okay then. Go on, Johnny." "My next door neighbour's are so big, she has 10 buttons on her blouse, but she can only fascinate." Little Johnny coming in for the win. An old cowboy walks into a barbershop for a shave and haircut. He tells the barber he can't get all of his whiskers off because his cheeks are wrinkled from age. The barber gets a wooden ball from a cup on his shelf and tells the old cowboy to put it in his cheek and it will spread out the skin. When he finished, the old cowboy tells the barber that was the cleanest shave he'd had in years, but he wanted to know what would have happened if he had accidentally swallowed that little ball. The barber replied, "Just bring it back in a couple of days like everyone else does." A king summons 3 of his most loyal people to a meeting. The king looks at the first man, who was named Rand. Rand, kiss my hand, he ordered. Rand obeys him and kisses his hand. The king looks at the second person, who was called Lee. Lee, kiss my knee. Lee obeys and kisses his king's knee. The king turns in the direction of the third man and screams, Mick, why are you running? There's a guy playing music out loud on an aeroplane. A stewardess says, excuse me, sir, but would you like some headphones? Why, yes, I would. And how did you know my name was Phones?
2 old ladies were sitting on a park bench when a man in a trench coat came up and flashed them. One old lady immediately had a stroke. The other one couldn't quite reach.
Subscribe to Lauren's social media now, or I will weather modify your area so you will have flood for a week or so. Or my name is not Donald Trump.